This month's mental wellness chat, we're going to talk about navigating social media and technology. We're going to understand the impact on our mental health, but we're also going to talk about how can it benefit us, because there are a lot of really great benefits to social media, but also and to technology, but also we notice that sometimes both of those very good things that are great for us actually can be hard and challenging as well. So I want to thank Viatris for their sponsorship of tonight's program, as well as the MS Fusion News. Without them, we wouldn't have the mental wellness chat that started about 3 years ago. So thank you so very much. And just introductions before we get started. I am Jessica Thomas. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I have almost 2 decades, not quite, but almost 2 decades of experience helping people that are living with chronic and progressive disease. I am currently a director of patient education for the Neuroendocrine Tumor Research Foundation, but I work a lot with multiple sclerosis still. And my passion with working with multiple sclerosis actually started after my own diagnosis. That was about 19 years ago. And so I am glad to be here this evening with you, but that explains a little bit of why I'm here. Because had I not had my own diagnosis, I probably would not have been on my own journey. And I always like to say, you are not alone. This is something, a painting I did not too long ago of my 3 cats. I decided to add some of my paintings into the presentation just for fun. But the truth is often we feel that we're alone in our experiences, and we can feel alone in what we're navigating in life. And more often than not, we are not alone. There's people that understand some aspects of what you're going through, what you're feeling, and that's a part of the purpose of this mental wellness chat, is that we're connecting. So I hope you take that with you. So we'll move on to the next slide. So we're going to dive right in a little bit. So what is your most helpful or favorite social media app or social media site or app? So we're not going to talk about negatives right now. Which one is the most helpful or your most favorite? And we have Barbara from New York City. Okay, so we got Sherry here that says Instagram. Very good. Joe says Facebook. Joe, I'm right with you. I'm Facebook all the way. For it being my favorite, because I've just done it for so many years. So it just holds so much of my my family's history and my son growing up. So we have Kim that says Facebook. Barbara says Instagram. John says Facebook. So Amber says it won't let me chat in this where I put the info. Amber, I'm seeing what you're putting in. So wherever you just put that in, I can see. You won't be able to see what other people are putting in, but I can see what you're putting in. And Krista says the most helpful is YouTube. Joe says his MS support group is on Facebook. Julie says Facebook. Amelia says Facebook. Dion says YouTube. I like the exercise classes. Mandy says TikTok. I do like TikTok too. I like some of those videos. And we have Amber from Panama City, Florida Beach, first timer. Thank you for being on here, Amber. It's so good to see you. So we're going to start. Social media can be good. So we probably all have some sort of favorite social media site or a favorite app that we use, and it can be good. And like everything, it can be dangerous and hard and bad sometimes. So we'll move on to our next slide. And you can keep inputting things if you want. So tonight we're going to talk about a little bit about the understanding of the impact of social media on our mental health. And then we're going to talk about using it. How can we use social media and technology wisely? So this can be about MS, but really, this is really for everybody, to be honest. We'll talk about it a little bit in the realm of MS, but this is a good broad mental health topic for everyone. And then we're going to talk about harnessing the positive aspects of social media and technology. And so that way we can figure out, and find techniques to use it in a way that works for us. So Michelle is here from Arizona. Thank you so much, Michelle. We're going to move on to our next slide. So we're going to talk a little bit about understanding the impact. So there can be a lot of good impacts of social media, but we're going to start a little bit with some of the negative impacts and how it impacts our mental health sometimes. So research, has said and can indicate that excessive use of social media can contribute to feelings of stress, anxiety, and depression. And people that spend more time on social media are more likely to have or to report poor mental health outcomes. And the constant, state of being connected to other people, and the exposure to other people's curated versions of their lives can lead to feelings of inadequacy, or FOMO. Are you familiar with FOMO? Fear of missing out, and that can contribute to stress and anxiety. And that can be an impact that we experience, is that, if have you ever noticed, you guys can please feel free to contribute in the oh, good. And we have Melissa from Destin, Florida. She is a return attendee, and she enjoys these so much. Melissa, I'm so glad that you're here. So you can see that, like, with your mood, if you spend a lot of time on social media, it actually can make you not feel as good for a couple of different reasons. But it also can increase feelings of isolation and feelings of being inadequate. Because Facebook, social media, Instagram, they often present a idealized version of life, leading people to compare themselves to or unfavorably to others. I don't know if you ever have experienced this. If you have, let me know. But it also can serve as like a constant comparison that can hurt your self-esteem and contribute, to feeling kind of isolated or different than your peers. For example, and I'll make this MS relatable, if you are dealing with a lot of fatigue, or you're dealing with your day-to-day is different, or even if your physical ability is different, and you may, see someone that you love to see on social media, and you see that they go and do great, have fun adventures, and they're, very active, and they're able to do things. It's not uncommon to immediately kind of match yourself to that person and be like, oh, I wish I could go on a trip like that, or I wish I was able to do that. So it's a very common thing, and that can be hard internally for us. And it's also, we're looking at a curated version. So we're looking at the best of the best version of what somebody wants you to see. And so Amelia says, keeping up with the news, especially politics, has become very stressful, and I've limited it. We're going to talk about limiting. So there can be things on social media too that can kind of be off-putting and kind of be overwhelming. It's sort of like getting access to the news when you don't want to watch the news. And so you can have some impacts can be that you can, have feelings. I think it's important when you're engaging in social media to pay attention to how you're feeling. And there was a study that was published by the Journal of Abnormal Psychology that found a significant increase in major depression among young adults in the U.S. Between 2005 and 2017, which they really attributed to the rise in social media. And there was another study published in the Journal of Social and Clinical Psychology that found that limiting social media to 30 minutes a day significantly reduced levels of depression and loneliness. So that can be kind of tricky because, social media connects us, right? But it also can make us feel a little bit lonely or isolated, or could increase depression. So it's important to make sure that we are using it wisely, that we're limiting the way that we use it, and really increasing the healthy capacity, and then increasing the good things from it as well. So we're going to move on to our next slide. So say that you have spent a lot of time, say yesterday, on social media, or the last time that you spent a lot of time on social media. How do you feel? Let's just talk about it. How do you feel when you do this? This could be, and I'm going to say social media, but you can also, let's put in YouTube videos and technology too. So, and I'll give an example. When I am listening to Spotify, which is an app, I feel good because I'm listening to music and I enjoy what I'm listening to. And if I'm doing it for a long period of time, I feel good. But if I am just scrolling through Facebook, I tend to not feel as good. I tend to feel like I'm wasting time, and TikTok especially too. After being on TikTok for like and going through, I see funny things, I see good recipes, I see neat ideas, and I feel inspired by them. But I also feel trapped because I've just spent a lot of time doing that. So I'm gonna let you guys answer this question. How do you feel after spending a lot of time on social media? So we have Joe who says, I'm already fatigued, so it helps me focus on something else. So that's a good thing if you're kind of fatigued already. That's something to kind of disconnect, wind down, and focus on something else. That's a good thing. Sherry says it can make her feel anxious. And then we have Amber who said, I did my own experience a few weeks ago. I went 3 days without using my phone at all. I'm able to do this because I'm single and jobless and childless. So it was refreshing. So I will give a great example too. And then we've got some more feedback. My family sometimes will go on a cruise and we never buy the internet package. And the reason why is it's because it's a full disconnect from the internet. So that way I'm off Facebook. I'm off of Instagram. I don't use that one as much, but I'm off of email. I'm off of all the technology. And it's really nice to do that. Even though I feel like I'm going to miss it, it's good when I don't have the option to use it. So we have Barbara who says, I use Instagram for positive motivational affirmations, stories, quotes, especially when I'm feeling sad. That is a great use of social media. Looking for the things that make you happy, looking for the things that bring you joy, that are inspiring, that are helpful. And that is a perfect way. And it's a really good tool from that perspective. And especially if you are looking for the things that make you happy. Kimberly says it depends. There's a lot of negativity and nastiness, but I do use it to connect with others. And that's the truth. It's kind of and then John uses it to keep up with the Carolina Panthers news, which leads to depression. So if you don't know, and if you live in North Carolina, you would know that the Panthers are not doing that good, and it is kind of sad if that's what you're wanting them to see news about them, and they're not. Paula is drained because it's constantly scrolling through extra stuff it puts in front of you. So also like the ads and the other stimulating things that you'll kind of see. So it's just what's good is trying to see what's going on with my friends instead. Linda says, I use it as a distraction and I join groups that pertain to me. So you find places to fit in there, which is really great. Amber says she's a Falcons fan. Same, dude, same. So we have some other football fans that understand. And then we have Jeff that is giving up social media for Lent, which is giving up social media is okay. It's okay to take a little bit of a break and refresh sometimes. So we're going to move on to our next. Keep typing if you're typing something. So the next chat box question is: have you ever noticed that it impacts that social media impacts your mental health, and how? And so I will just say I'll give you a quick example for myself. I can experience that FOMO, that fear of missing out. So I might see that there was a fun party or something going on and I wasn't able to go, and you might feel kind of bummed about that. Or if I see, that I have someone I know that, they're doing just these really fun trips and vacations. I just, I kind of want to go too. I wish I could do some of those things. So it doesn't maybe necessarily impact my mental health, but I'm aware of feelings that I might have while I'm watching and looking and reading. So Linda said, yes, when I see another person who died. So that's another thing about social media, right? Or anything on the internet is, that you can be flooded with anything at any time. And it's hard to sort of control that. Joe says it can go either way in terms of mental health. So I'm gonna let you guys continue to write in, but we'll move on to our next slide. And we're going to talk a little bit about using social media and technology wisely. So we have some people that probably do some of these strategies, and if you do, please speak up and share things that you do. But I'm going to read some things that I think can be helpful. And some I've done myself, some I have not. But one is to set time limits. So research suggests that excessive screen time can contribute to feelings of stress, anxiety, and depression. So if you can set limits to the time, it may help you to prioritize the activities that promote mental well-being. Such as like face-to-face interactions, or even something like exercise, etc. I do think that sometimes we can get kind of locked in. That's what social media is, and what the internet and technology can do. It can kind of lock us in, keep our attention, and it's constantly moving. So we're kind of moving along with it. So we can so we're staying at the pace of all the changes of, like, when I think about TikTok and I think about just the constant scroll, you kind of spend a lot of time and energy, and before you know it, you've spent a lot of time and energy there. And so if we could limit it, and so there are ways that you can limit your use of technology or your awareness of it. I can't walk you through the tutorial on how to do it, but I do know that you can go through your phone and you can set limits to certain apps that you have. So if it is, say, like Facebook or Instagram, or even if you have like a messaging app or something, it can calculate how much time you're spending on it, but it can and tell you, and so you can kind of look at a screen time review of kind of what you spend your time on your phone. But it also can help you to kind of make you pause or stop, because it has an alarm and it turns it off. You can even set it between certain hours. I know this partly because I'm a parent, and during COVID, we had to find out, some ways to mitigate, social media. It was a connector, but then also it was a distractor. So we had to work on that in our house, and so that was one of the things that proved to be pretty helpful. Another one is to curate your feed. So unfollow accounts that make you feel bad about yourself or maybe promote unrealistic standards. Follow accounts that inspire you, promote positivity, and provide valuable information. So going back to, oh goodness, I forgot her name. The person who uses Instagram for inspirational things. It's Barbara. That's a really positive thing to do. So find the things that make you happy and focus on those things. Curate your feed as you see that all these technologies kind of pick up what you're scrolling, what you're doing, your interactions, and so. And it may, for a while, this is a really great example. Anytime I open up Facebook now, I have Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, and the Mahomes are all over my Facebook feed, and it's because it curated all the stuff that I was paying attention to during the football season, and I don't want that there. And so I've had to be really careful and intentional about making sure that I'm taking those things off, and so that way it can kind of reset. But if you add things that are positive, it's going to continue to add that as well. Let's see. So Joe has, he set a new goal to call and talk to his sister once a week. Talk digital well-being. That is so perfect. So not only using social media for a way of connecting, that we can still connect by telephone, we can connect by FaceTime, which is cool as well, or by Zoom, and we can also connect in person sometimes. And so finding those things and connecting with people outside of just social media. Cindy says, whenever I go to a place of increased depression and anxiety, I simply don't have the emotional energy for social media. I find it helpful to disconnect from the world. This is, by the way, the first week I've gotten back to even having a desire to watch educational webinars such as this. Cindy, I am so thankful that you are on here today with us, and please know that we are happy that you're here and you're feeling better. And Cindy says, I prefer this over anything else, as Facebook, etc. And so sometimes So one, thank you. These kind of connections to educational programs can be very helpful. This chat is incredibly special and filled with all incredible people that connect with one another. And I feel like one day we'll get to see each other every, I don't know how we can make this happen, but all the regulars, I hope one day we'll be able to see each other. But it's important to know that sometimes we even have to limit ourselves and take a break. But then also we might know, you know what, if we are kind of shying away, that might be a sign that our depression is increasing, that if we're, kind of having not the same interest as we had before. So we're going to talk about setting boundaries. So I mentioned a little, if you can go back one more, just go back. So limiting notifications, constant notifications can lead to feelings of being overwhelmed and increased stress levels. I don't know if any of you have apps where, and I do because I'm a parent and my son plays baseball. And so for our high school, and so the app will constantly, one person will say something and then it will turn into 20 people said something. And every time they would say something, it would just continue to ding or buzz or whatever. And it's usually never really important, and it can make it kind of stressful and overwhelming because I'm trying to focus on something, and over here I'm having disturbances. So thinking about what apps do you have, what emails do you have, what social media do you have that you have notifications coming through, and do you want those notifications coming through all the time? So you can limit and turn off notifications. Sometimes you can set timelines. You can put a do not disturb on your phone, but you have some power there. I want you to know. And then really just turning off those non-essential notifications can help to reduce distractions and really promote, kind of a healthier relationship with technology. Because if your phone is buzzing every minute, you're going to always pick it up and you're going to lose what you were focusing on. And then designating tech-free times and zones. So establishing times in your house where you don't have technology can really promote more meaningful interactions with others. I do think that this is a stellar idea, and sometimes I think we'll put our phones down and watch a movie. I do have people in my social circle that their families will on Sundays will just turn their phones off and they'll have no access, and that works for them. I think it's about what works for you, what helps you to feel connected, etc. So I'm going to read some more comments. And before I start reading, I just wanted to reiterate with everyone: if you ever put something in the comment box and you don't want me to read it out loud, start off with saying, "Don't read this out loud," so that way I won't read it out loud, because otherwise I just kind of start reading, and if it's at the end, I would have already read. So I apologize. So Amber says, the internet is overwhelming. It's like a black hole. I go looking to buy bread, and I'm constantly bombarded with a million bread options. I know it's, isn't it right? That there is, the internet can be so completely overwhelming. And so how can we find, ways to kind of mitigate that a little bit, where we don't go down a rabbit hole or into like a bunny trail or into a black hole of of getting lost and trying to find things, because that's how our brains work. We'll see something and then we'll move over here and then we'll move over here, and before you know, we've spent an hour. So sometimes setting a timer might be good. Sometimes being intentional not to be super comfortable while you're looking for things, so if I look at things at my desktop computer, I'm going to be finished much further, much quicker than I will be if I'm using my phone, because my phone, I'm comfortable on the couch. So usually if I'm in a work setting, I'll be a little bit won't spend as much time at it. Kimberly gave a heart to Cindy, and I just wanted to just share that. And then Amber says, I have so many devices and I use all those devices at once. So maybe limiting the amount of technology I'm using at once. Absolutely. When we're experiencing a lot of technology, and it can be very draining and very overwhelming. And I think even just like the lights and if you have the TV on and your phone in your hand, and just it's overstimulating, and we don't really need to take in all those things. If we slow down, even sometimes if we can be intentional while we're using social media, then that can help us to enjoy it a little bit better. Um, Linda says, I mute everything, so I am in control. That's a great suggestion. Mandy says, I turn off many app notifications because the ADHD part of my brain cannot go with unaddressed notification dots. It's also why I forget to respond to messages. And that is a good strategy. And I know not responding to messages can be challenging sometimes, but the truth is that if you know that you feel responsive, or you feel like you have to see everything that's coming your way, turning off those notifications are good. And Joe said, I said bunny trail. That made him laugh. So Amelia said, yes, the constant noises bother me, like notifications or messages dinging at our family group message. So and being aware of that too, because not only if you have, even if you have like a button or a ring or a buzz on your phone, and it's loud. So if you're relaxed and you're doing something and your phone buzzes or goes off, and someone's sitting beside you, they're also kind of like experiencing that too. So kind of just, I think, being mindful of it for you. Kim says, I think it's great for people with MS. The support groups on Facebook are plenty. Email notifications for meetings. Zoom is good, and YouTube is essential for exercise. Yeah, there's lots of really good things, and social media has very much helped people with MS. I know for me, MS aside, social media helps me stay connected to people. Most of my friends are not local, believe it or not, and so I spend a decent amount of time connecting with people using my phone during the day, and connecting with my friends and my colleagues, etc. So there's a lot of great things. So Sherry said, I developed a social media phobia. I'm slowly getting back into it. Too many unknown people are trying to message me. So this is something good to talk about too, because there's also a lot of scamming, and that is not helpful for social media and not helpful for us individually. But to stick to your boundaries, so if you're using, Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, which is called X now, I think, whatever it is that you're using, thinking about who I want to be in control of, who is in my group. And knowing that if you don't know someone, that might be your limit, your boundary to not letting them in your group. I know for me, that's a boundary for me that I've set, so, and I honestly think that's why my account has not been scammed yet. But it's hard because you don't want to say no to people, but that's a boundary that you should decide where you are and what you want to set for yourself. And so kind of knowing what works and what doesn't work for you. So when you cultivate a positive online environment, it's essentially what you're doing is that you're knowing that you're in control of who you interact with on Facebook. Every year I do a cleanse, and I go through and I think about, okay, is this person someone I'm still really engaged with? Is this person are we interacting, or is this person that I just want to stay in touch with because of work or something related to that? But I think about every single person, and I go through all of my contacts because I want to make sure that my community is how I've curated it too. And for me, I need support just like everyone else does. Paula says, turn the volume off so no buzz or sounds to distract me. Then do not disturb when sleeping, which is great because that, also if we have notifications going off in the evening when we're trying to sleep, that can hurt our sleep hygiene as well. So when we're seeking supportive communities, so we're, join online groups or forums that have your same interests and your goals. And engage in discussions that lift you up or inspire you rather than promote negativity or conflict. So it's important because when you often we can feel emotion that we're exposed to, and so if we're reading a lot of negative things, we're going to feel negative. And you have control over what you're looking at and what you're participating in terms of social media and usage. So we're going to move on to our next slide. Okay, so here, do you limit social media and technology? And if you do, what strategies do you use? So I will get us started. So I shared a little bit about the notifications. I do that, and there's been a couple times in my life I've taken a pause from Facebook, and those pauses have been good for me when I've taken them. And I usually will take like a 60 or 90-day hiatus and just kind of disappear for a little bit and then come back. And that has been healthy for me because it helped me to focus on relationships that were, more local. So Mandy says this is a really good boundary, Mandy. Mandy says, my family knows not to contact me after 8 p.m. so my brain can unwind. That is a really good boundary and a good limitation and a good boundary to have, for technology for yourself. And we have someone who mentioned, I heard someone mention ADHD, and I only use email and educational Zoom or webinars. If I check YouTube, I get lost in the other videos that show up. So that was some advice to the person with ADHD, or kind of some insight of what she does. And so, that's a really good strategy, a good way, because if you know what distracts you or what pulls you in and that you don't want to engage with, the things that you can use that don't distract you and don't bother you, and you know what you benefit from. So that's good. We have Krista that says, I shut off most push notifications. Paula says, I put the phone down and listen to music and I journal. That is beautiful. And Linda says, I use it when I'm resting my body. Once caught up, I put it back down. So that's some strategies. If you have any more strategies, please feel free to share. But I want to normalize that it's okay to limit social media. Sometimes we might feel like we need to know everything, or we're not as engaged if we're not checking it all the time. And the truth is, I even think the way that some of the platforms, curate their material, you don't even get to see all your friend groups. You don't get to see unless you're intentionally picking them out. It can be pretty tricky. So it's okay to put things down, unplug it, and come back to it, and it will still be there, if that makes sense. So we'll move on to our next slide, and you can always continue to write in. And we're going to talk about harnessing the positive aspects of social media. So we'll start with positive. One of the most positive things is that it gives us access to information and resources. I know that this is not a social media, so to say, but it's kind of a version of technology, to have a educational program / support group that is online. So social media and technology really give us easy access to a lot of information and resources, and especially related to mental health. So, and then the really cool thing about just how a lot of things have expanded their geography since COVID. That's one benefit of that period of time, is so there's a lot more educational programs. There's a lot more information out there. There's a lot more resources that you have access to that you maybe would not have had access to before. Mandy says, I also have a routine of making the bed and brushing teeth, no phone or artificial lights unless necessary for at least 30 minutes. That is a great boundary. And then, and Krista said, I wouldn't have found this group without social media. Found the group on Facebook. Thank you, Krista, for sharing. And then Amelia says, I enjoy working on my family tree on Ancestry, but it can become addictive. So I've given up working on Ancestry after a certain time at night, starting now in Lent, but I want to continue. So it's kind of that for me, that sounds like you're just trying to find a way to navigate the boundary of doing that. And then Joe Siders said, emotional pick-me-up cat videos. Joe, thank you. That's an emotional pickup for me too. Fun animal videos, cat videos, baby videos, all those are really great. So we're going to talk about, we're going to continue about the positive aspects. So connecting with others. So, social media allows, people to stay connected with, their friends and family, and especially important to those who may be, separated by geography. And building those and maintaining those positive social connections can really have a positive impact on your mental health. So it's, it can be helpful from a connection standpoint. It's just, we have to note how we use it and how it feels, etc. But I know for me, it can be a very healthy connector. And I know also for me, it can be something that can, make me feel a little bit anxious or, frustrated if I wasn't invited to something I wanted to go to, etc. So just paying attention to how you feel. Bruce said, watch and listen to late night comics before bed to have laughter. That is a great thing to share. Thank you. And that's a good thing to do. So then also some other positive aspects. When you think of apps like Headspace, Insight Timer, Calm, there's lots of apps that practice where you can practice mindfulness and meditation. This can help to reduce stress and overall help your well-being. And then there's mental health tracking apps. So apps that, might track your mood, your sleep habits, and also provide, valuable insights into your mental health patterns and your triggers. So there's a lot of good resources. And tracking your progress on certain things can also serve to be a motivation. So we'll move on to our next slide. So what are some of the positive aspects of your usage? So when you use social media, when you use technology, what's good about it for you? And then we're going to talk about some resources as well soon. But so what are some positive aspects of your usage, even as I've been sharing some information? I would say for me, it helps me to stay connected. When I think about my apps and things that I have, it helps me to engage in things that I enjoy. Amelia says, I love cat videos. I think that also some positive aspects, if you're feeling, a little bit down or your mood is lower. I love going to inspirational quotes, and even in the evening before I go to bed, I usually will spend my little bit of time on social media looking at quotes and seeing what feels good for me to read before bed. Paula says, keeping in touch with my family and my friends. Linda saying that it's resourceful. And Joe says, How We Feel is an app my family asked me to use and share. So, Joe, if I can specifically ask you, is the app called How We Feel? Just say yes if that's the case. But there's an app that he uses and that he would like to share. It's called How We Feel. And so, which probably is a really good app based on the name of it. Barbara says, sometimes during the day I need a quick pick-me-up and I go to Instagram on for a smile or a laugh. So it can be a little break. I always, I say brain breaks. And in tonight's presentation, you saw some of the transition slides had a little bit of artwork. And I've been painting with watercolors here as of late. And so, the social media is a good brain break. And then sometimes art's a good brain break. But for me, often doing exactly what Barbara does, it's a brain break. And Joe said yes. So it's called, let's see, How We Feel is that. Krista says, staying connected, puppy videos, inspirational memes, and resources for learning about this MS journey. Really enjoy Insight Timer, as you mentioned. So that is great. We're going to move on to our next slide. So I continue to please, talk in the chat. I actually have another one here. Amber says, I love that it helps with isolation because treatments limit my interactions. Sometimes I literally don't leave the house for weeks. And that can be a really challenging thing. So that's one of the benefits of social media, is that it helps you to interact with people, and technology gives you the ability to interact with people as well. So here I just kind of pulled up some mental health apps. I did not do a big search. I just went to Google and I put mental health apps, and a lot of these are some that I mentioned: Calm, Insight. There's BetterHelp, which I know we have a couple people that get counseling through there. Happify, Calm, Mind Shift, CBT. We have Headspace. There's just a lot of really good apps that are. Some of them cost money. Some of them have free components to it. So I do encourage you to look and see when you're looking at technology. Is there something that I need for my to help improve my mental health? Is there a resource that will help me? I'm trying to think of which one I used to use during Headspace was a main one during COVID, that was used quite a bit. And Calm can be very helpful, and you can use the free versions of it. You don't get the whole big array of things, but that's okay. You don't need it all, and there are some really great resources. We're going to move on to our other side. This is this is books. So many of you are probably familiar with online libraries. Libby is the one that I use, and it's a completely free, 100% free. And I listen to audiobooks because sometimes I'm tired at night. I don't want to look at a screen sometimes, and I can get free books, that are from the library. So I think that's another way that we can use technology too, is to read and to have entertainment, and that can be through, other avenues. But it's important to know that we don't have to pay for each book that we buy online, et cetera. That you can have access to them online, just like you would a regular library. Then we'll move on to our next slide. And then there's free music apps. And again, most of these have like a premium buy-in if you want to buy in, but many of them you can have just and listen to. And music is very therapeutic for many people. And I know this because I've been doing this mental health chat for a long time. And your feedback tells me that you guys respond well to music a lot of times. And sometimes we can, one way that we can disengage from social media and technology, ironically, is putting music on. And so maybe that technology is driving the music, but your phone might be driving the music, et cetera, or the app, but you're able to kind of disconnect. I know one of the best things I can do is put an audiobook on, and for some reason I get like a little bit more internal energy. So I'll do something in the house that I normally wouldn't do if I was just looking at my phone. But if I put an audiobook in, I'll put away clothes or do something a little bit more productive. So we have Krista, who says that she listens to her Alexa, and she listens to music all day long. Football season is over, so TV is rarely on. Well, baseball is picking up, guys. If you like baseball will be picking up. But it's always that sad transition if you're a sports fan, and basketball's in there too. But free music apps. So just kind of being aware of apps that are that you can access for free, and music can be very helpful for you. So I wanted to. We're gonna just in the chat box real quick. I want to ask you, what is one thing that you learned today? Or what is one thing that was reinforced today that you're going to try? So it might be something that you didn't learn, because a lot of the concepts today that we talked about might have been things that you've heard about before, but maybe it's something that you felt like a little bit inspired. And I'll give you an example. I was inspired with Barbara when she had mentioned the Instagram, going for like the quotes and the uplifting things. I haven't been on Instagram in a little bit, but but that reminded me that was the place that I know like 2 years ago that I love to go and pull like quotes from. There's a couple of therapists that I follow, and they have really great information. Paula said audiobook apps. Thank you for that. So audiobook apps, check with your local library. They should have a digital library available to you. I know in our area, Libby is the one that our area uses. But Sherry said going to look into more audiobooks. That is great. Also thinking about, for those of you that, thought about some things that make you happy or smile, even for you, the people that like sports, like John, and we had, let's see, John likes sports, and then we have Amber likes baseball, and I know we had another football person. Um, but watching bloopers, or things like that, finding some things that kind of make you laugh and make you giggle, are very helpful and very important. So finding those things, and knowing that even though it might feel like it's out of your control, you can kind of curate and use technology to your advantage and social media to your advantage. And at the same time, you can control and remove some of the things that create ick feelings, or cause you distress. We have, let's see. Barbara says there's also Book Hub for free books to buy online, which is cool. And then Joe says digital health is as important as any other health to monitor. Yeah, I agree. This is why we bring this topic, because social media is so incredibly important, and how we spend our time here and what we do, because this is, things that we're taking in cognitively and emotionally as well. Kimberly said NASCAR, so she's a NASCAR fan. Then we have Linda that says, thanks for validating how much music helps us. Absolutely. And then Cindy said, simply just listening to this is inspiring. Thank you. Cindy, thank you for sharing that. There is, it can be hard sometimes. And so, Cindy, I am glad that you were able to join us tonight. It's tricky, and it can be really, really hard to get unstuck when you're feeling stuck. And it can feel, to me, that's what brave looks like. It looks like showing up even when you really don't want to, and it's hard. And I'm glad that you are here with us this evening. And so this is my classic slide that I show at the end of every single mental wellness chat. I've done this since the very first one. And it says, not goodbye, but see you later. And the truth is that I'm not saying goodbye. I hope to see you next month. Please join us. You are a part of our group, and you are not alone. Have a good evening.